¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is indeed Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. How's it going, Mayhem Hippie? I made it back again. Indeed. Indeed. How's it going, everybody? Some good news is that I fixed some of the problems that were going on with the new update from not Streamlabs, from OBS. We managed to fix it. How's it going? Working real late tonight, sadly. Well, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. At least you get to hear some ASMR news, I suppose. Okay, perfect. We got all our stuff going. Perfect. So apparently, Twitch notifications and I guess Discord notifications may not always come through. So sometimes it takes a minute to get all the folks in here. What are we covering today? We've got, well, historic unforgiving heat waves in California and parts of the West. We are now looking to beef up election security. A judge has officially unseated has unseated an official who trespassed or who was involved in the January 6th insurrection. Newly obtained surveillance video shows fake Trump elector being escorted. Shows fake Trump elector escorting operatives into Georgia County's election office before that voting machine breach. And we have your daily climate update. With the Climate Recap podcast. So we definitely got things to cover, that's for sure. How do I get back to the news section? Here we are. Okay. Have you heard about the states taxing the loan forgiveness? Yeah, I think I heard Florida, Florida being one of them. Essentially, what they want to do is create kind of like a resentment to that because, well, the Biden administration decided to give some crumbs, and the Republicans were not having it. Originally, this is not going to be taxed by the federal government. To my understanding, this is not going to be taxed by the federal government, but states have decided to do that in order to, I guess, sow resentment, to make it not as good of a deal, even though what happened was not really just, at best we can describe, was crumbs. So, yeah, there's that. A U.S. judge agrees to a special master in Trump's search case, delaying the probe. How about that one? Yeah, we are. I think we covered one article about that yesterday, which calls into question this judge, who, as you just mentioned, is a judge appointed by Trump, who is supposedly not supposed to involve themselves. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. For some reason, the front of the news section on Twitter is with a big banner saying that there's no evidence of widespread fraud. I don't understand why we have to keep rehashing this. Let's get some of these headlines started here. I think we should kick off with this one. This one seems kind of relevant. Cameras, plexiglass, fireproofing. Election officials beef up security. In Wisconsin, one of the nation's key swing states, cameras and plexiglass now fortify the reception area of a county election office in Madison, the capital, after a man wearing a camouflage and a mask tried to open locked doors during an election held in April. In another bellwether area, Maricopa County, Arizona, where beleaguered election workers had to be escorted through a scrum of election deniers to reach their cars in 2020, a security fence has been added to protect the perimeter of a vote tabulation center. This is all because the right wing has taken it upon themselves that democracy and free and fair elections is just not for them. In Colorado, the state's top election official, Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State, and a Democrat, resorted to paying for private security out of her budget after a stream of threats. Of course, these are right-wing domestic terrorists. As the nation hurls closer to the midterm elections, those who will oversee them are taking a range of steps to beef up security for themselves, employees, polling places, and even drop boxes, tapping state and federal funding for a new set of defenses. The heightened vigilance comes as a violent rhetoric from the right intensifies and as efforts to intimidate election officials by those who refuse to accept the results of the 2020 election become commonplace. Yep. No surprise there. Domestic terrorists are gonna terrorize, I should say. Discussing security in a recent interview with The Times, Ms. Griswold, 37, said that threats of violence had kept her and her aides laid up at night as they combed through comments on social media. At a right-wing group gathering in Colorado earlier this year, she said a prominent election denier with militia ties suggested, a domestic terrorist suggested that she should be killed. That was when she concluded that her part-time security detail provided by the Colorado State Patrol wasn't enough. They called for me to be hung, said Miss Griswold, who's running for re-election. It's a long weekend, I'm home alone, and I only get 7 hours of state patrol coverage. Even in places where there was never a shadow of a doubt about the political leanings of the electorate, election officials have found themselves under threat. In a Texas county that President Trump won by 59 percentage points in 2020, all 3 election officials recently resigned, with at least one citing repeated death threats and stalking. Jesus Christ. 1 in 5 local election officials who responded to a survey earlier by the Brennan Center for Justice said that they were very or somewhat unlikely to continue serving through 2024. And that is pretty scary, folks, because guess what? Those people are going to have to be replaced, right? They're going to need workers. And people like Steve Bannon and a little bit, the folks on the far right who have a little bit more, I guess, political acumen are seeking to fill those positions with their folks. This is not conspiratorial. They said it themselves. This is not an exaggeration. They have said it themselves. This is why they're attempting to capture positions like Secretary of State, governor's mansions, election board positions. It's exactly for this reason. A collective angst is a recurring theme at workshops and conferences attended by election officials who say it's not unusual for them to exchange anecdotes about threatening messages or harassment at grocery stores. At the grocery store, the discussion have turned at times to testing drop boxes, a focus of right-wing attacks on mail-in voting, to see if they can withstand being set on fire. That's where we're at, folks, where, again, the right wing, let us be very clear as to who is doing this, the right wing has essentially put us in this position where we're having to literally test to make sure they don't set drop boxes on fire, taking away people's voices effectively. Benjamin Hovland, a member of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, described the intimidation campaign as pervasive. This isn't a red state issue or a blue state issue. This is a national issue. Yeah, but there's clearly one side doing this, okay? Clearly. This is a national issue where the professional public servants that run our elections have been subjected to an unprecedented level of threats, harassment, and intimidating behavior. Again, this right here is domestic terrorism, okay? To the T. To the T. This is exactly the definition for domestic terrorism. And it's not isolated incidents. It's not a couple of incidents here and there. These things have become commonplace across the board. In a guidance issued in June, the Election Assistance Commission allowed for federal election grants to be used for physical security service to monitor threats on social media. In Wisconsin's Dane County, which includes Madison, partisan poll watchers and a brigade of lawyers with the Trump campaign descended in 2020 to dispute the election results. County officials recently budgeted $95,000 to start designing a new and more secure election center. That's right, they said it themselves at CPAC. And you can tell where this is going, as they had one of their openers, Mr. Viktor Orban, a authoritarian who essentially subverted democracy in Hungary through the same methods, right? Take over the narrative, take over key positions in the government, and you're good. The move came after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security conducted a risk assessment in April on the current election offices for the county and city, which are housed in the same building. It's kind of a sieve, said Scott McDonald, a Democrat and the county's clerk for the past decade, said in an interview. But with the new center likely to be a long way from fruition, more immediate steps were taken. In the past 6 months, security cameras and plexiglass were installed. But those measures are just a stopgap, said Mr. McDonald, recalling the April episode when a masked man tried to enter several restricted areas during local elections. He's all in camo, shaking on doors and trying to get into spaces and filming everything. That would never happen in a properly secured, laid-out building that was designed for elections. Right, well, because it's pretty unprecedented to see this, right? To see that one particular side has taken this to the extreme. And I want to continue to remind people that this was all based on a lie, a complete conspiracy theory by Donald Trump. Arizona's most populous county, Maricopa, which includes Phoenix, was a nexus of efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The security fence directed around the county's tabulation and election center last year is 10 feet tall. Its purpose is to prevent a repeat of November 2020, when election workers were surrounded by a crowd of Trump loyalists, domestic terrorists, some of them armed, again, domestic terrorists, as the workers tried to get to their cars. The point of a terrorist is to use violence or the threat of violence, as they were armed, some of them, to impose their political will, right? Which in this case was their loyalty to Trump and the fact that they believed that he won the election. This is the classic down to the T definition of domestic terrorists. There's no ambiguity. No ambiguity with that language. Terrorism, it is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, which being in a group that, even if it's not all of you, in which some of you are armed in an attempt to intimidate, especially against civilians, which it was, in pursuit of political aims, which it was. There is no ambiguity here, folks. There's no wiggle room. Yeah, but the left are the radical ones. That's right. That's right. The security buildup didn't end there. The county added new security cameras, including 23 with live streaming capability. I'm sorry, all I see is live streaming capability, like they're gonna put that on Twitch or something. I'm a terrorist for being a leftist, but they can openly claim violence and it's okay? Nah. You call them for what it is. You call it for what it is. They're the ones who are terrorists. Don't never mind that, Mayhem Hippie. Don't mind that. My coworker used intimidation to get a new coffee pot in our office. Does that count as terrorism? No, I don't believe so. Terrorism has a specific definition. No, that's not what the definition of terrorism is. Come on. Installed glass walls around the computer server and hired private security patrols to augment its own guards, said Scott Jarrett, the nonpartisan co-director of the county's election department. A layer of protective film was also applied to all the building's windows to make them harder to break and obscure employees' faces, especially at night. Even someone with a hammer was banging against it. I think the manufacturer said someone could be doing that for a consistent 5 minutes and it's not going to break. The county even built a vault with a fire suppression system to hold ballots. Nice. The county, yes, there's not an election official probably in the county right now who doesn't have some concerns. He said stress of the stressful working conditions of election workers. Democracy, I think, is coming under assault. I agree 100%. They haven't seen me terrorize yet. I just got myself a new pistol. Hey, in a video game. In a video game, okay? There's nothing wrong with owning firearms. That being said, Michigan's top election official, forget the left has guns too. They just don't make it their whole personality. Yeah. I think it's weird when you do that. I think it's weird when your whole entire identity and persona is revolving around the fact that you like guns so much. That's just bizarre to me. Michigan's top, yeah, it's not just that democracy is under assault. I think it's important also to name who is responsible for this, right? And it's the right. It's the right wing. The right wing is the one who is currently assaulting democracy. Despite whatever nonsense that they try to divert with, no matter how hard they try to spin it, it's them. It's them who is assaulting democracy. And at the top of it all, or I guess at the nexus of it all, is Donald Trump, really. He's the one that kicked this whole thing off by saying countless times till this date that a free and fair election was somehow rigged, was somehow a fraudulent election, which none of that happened, okay? There's no reason to believe that the results of the 2020 election were were incorrect. Period. Michigan's top election official, Jocelyn Benson, who is a Democrat, has a security detail from the state when she needs it. In an interview, she described the time in December of 2020 when a group gathered outside her Detroit home to call for her to overturn the victory of Joseph R. Biden Jr. in Michigan. Some of them were armed, which again, this is domestic terrorism, folks. This is domestic terrorism to the T. Again, the definition cannot be clearer. When a group of folks show up for a particular political aim, and they are threatening civilians, by being armed. Sorry I'm late again. Good to be here. Howdy. Glad you made it. I was about to put my son to bed and a dozen of individuals descended on our home. A neighbor's security guard initially was the only one separating the home from the crowd, which shouted obscenities that woke up her neighbors. It was a very haunting moment, said Mrs. Benson, who was interviewed about the confrontation as part of the congressional inquiry into the January 6th insurrection. What it was an omnipresent feeling of anxiety and dread that permeates our daily lives. And that's the idea, right? That's the goal. That's the goal. Michigan received $8 million in federal election funds that Ms. Benson said local officials could spend on physical security and efforts to tamp down misinformation. Still, in testimony last month before the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, Ms. Benson urged the federal government to set aside more money for security. To protect democracy, we must protect election officials, said Ms. Benson, who's running for re-election on Thursday. In Colorado, Mr. Trump's allies have frequently tussled over election oversight, with Ms. Griswold, who said that her office had compiled a 60-page PDF detailing the hundreds of threats that she had received. Jesus Christ. Take that in for a second. 60 pages. 60 pages detailing hundreds of death threats. That is just wild. It is amazing how zealous people that are fed an exclusive diet of propaganda can be. Oh yeah, no, this is a cult. Zeodude. This is a cult. This is a cult. And just to clarify, she is the Secretary of State of Colorado. On 2 occasions, the threats have led to criminal charges. One man was arrested in July over a threatening phone call, and in June, a Nebraska man pled guilty to threatening Ms. Griswold on Instagram. It was the first conviction resulting from the work of the Justice Department task force focused on the intimidation of election officials. Yeah, I mean, like this needs to continue, because this is not okay. This is not acceptable. So all of these domestic terrorists need to be arrested. I mean, like, it's just not okay. Sending threats, sending death threats, stalking, showing up at election officials' homes, not politicians, not governors, election workers, demanding that you overturn a free and fair election, showing up armed, is just not okay. Okay, that's just not okay. Trump's lawyer admitted that he didn't declassify any of the documents. Can we get a link on that? Is that like breaking news? Just send me a link in whispers or direct message if you can, please. Ms. Griswold drew a comparison between those making violent threats towards election officials and the people who took part in the January 6th insurrection. Yeah, it's the same people. What? It's the same people. Yes, when you get home. Okay, absolutely. If you get a chance. If I mean, like, Trump never declassifying these documents, shows that he's lying again. I mean, it's so hard to keep up with how to keep up with like the story here. So like, they're his documents, but the FBI planted them. But he also, it doesn't matter because he already declassified them because executive privilege. But also now he didn't declassify them. But also it doesn't matter because they're his, but they're not. I don't know. This is like, to keep track of his like lies is just a it's just a pointless endeavor. But I think that taking that as being the case, it really doesn't matter. Like, if Trump didn't declassify these documents, I mean, it just proves that he's consistently lying. But it's irrelevant to, I think, what the statutes that they're looking into are. It doesn't need to make sense altogether. It's just a shopping list of whataboutism. Yeah, like, it's just distractions, smoke screens. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. We have to take threats of violence seriously, of course, and we have to disincentivize it. Yes, 100%. And people who engage in this behavior, who are literally engaging in domestic terrorism, should be charged as such. I mean, period. Let's see if we can. I'm actually very, very curious. He totally declassified the docs that the FBI planted. There you go. Yeah, this special person Trump has gotten installed in the FBI investigation stinks. Yeah, I think there was some issues with the judge. Yeah, there's some weird shenanigans going on with that judge. Yeah, a Trump appointed judge. That's right. Judge unseats official who trespassed at the Capitol on January 6th. It really made Kelly Griffin, a county commissioner in New Mexico, the first official in more than 100 years to be removed under the Constitution's bar on insurrectionist holding office. Nice. Based. A judge in New Mexico on Tuesday ordered a county commissioner convicted of participating in the January 6th insurrection. Yeah, like, why are you still calling it a riot? You have people being removed from office for insurrectionary behavior. It's an insurrection. At the Capitol, removed from office under the 14th Amendment, making him the first public official in more than a century to be barred from serving under a constitutional ban on insurrectionists holding office. Based. The ruling declared the Capitol assault an insurrection based and removed Coey Griffin, a commissioner in the New Mexico Otero County and the founder of the Cowboys for Trump. Oh man, cringe. Cringe. Who was convicted earlier this year of trespassing when he breached barricades outside the Capitol during the insurrection. The judge's orders grabbed the attention of advocates across the country who have been pushing to use the 14th Amendment to disqualify former President Trump and elected officials who worked with him in seeking to overturn the 2020 election from holding office in the future. In his decision, Judge Francis Matthew of the New Mexico District Court said the insurrection on January 6th included not only the mob violence that unfolded that day, but also surrounding planning, mobilization, and incitement that led to it, which I would argue, as some of the folks are pointing out, this applies to a certain amount of representatives. Some of them, including Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, all these folks that facilitated and perpetuated this rhetoric constantly are responsible. Mr. Griffin is constitutionally disqualified from serving. Agreed. Liberal groups have filed legal challenges in Arizona, New Mexico, North Carolina, and Wisconsin seeking to block lawmakers accused of supporting the January 6th insurrectioners, including some prominent Republican members of Congress, from holding office under the Constitution. Until Tuesday, none had succeeded. Well, I hope this sets I hope this sets the tone, right? That you can't just engage in this behavior and there not be some type of consequences, right? Like, so about 80% of the GOP, yeah. This just went from being theoretical to being something that is legally recognized and legally possible. Because it's true, right? Like, if you're out there consistently pushing this narrative and consistently inciting and essentially being a stochastic terrorist, leading people to no other conclusion except violence, then I believe there should be consequences. You don't deserve to run for office. You don't deserve to run for the public because it doesn't seem like you're interested in serving the public. Alio with the 11 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This just went from being theoretical to being something legally recognized and possible, said Noah Bookbinder, director for Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics, a nonpartisan watchdog organization that filed suit against Mr. Griffin on behalf of a group of New Mexico residents. That is hugely significant. It could have real implications for protecting the country from people associated with the efforts to overturn the last election. Yeah, it's not even just like it's the fundamental disregard for free and fair elections. That's the problem here. So much so, your contempt your contempt for free and fair elections, so much so that you decided to continue to push this narrative for about 2 years now, up to inciting essentially an insurrection. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, adopted during the Reconstruction to punish members of the Confederacy for taking up arms against their country in the Civil War, declares that no person shall hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath to support the Constitution, had then engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Reconstruction era federal prosecutors brought civil actions in court to oust officials linked to the Confederacy, and Congress in some cases refused to seat members, according to Congressional Research Service. But the last time that amendment was enforced was in 1919, when Congress refused to see a socialist member who was accused of giving aid and comfort to Germany during World War I. Methinks it was just because he was a socialist. Sadly, I'm worried that people will be soured and quit government or be scared of anyone with strong opinions because of Trump and the right wing. Yeah, but you shouldn't capitulate to that, right? Like, what? So, yeah, just, yeah, the right wing, Trump, screw all those guys. An appeals court ruled in May that participants in an insurrection against the U.S. government could be barred from holding office. But the target of that case, Representative Madison Cawthorn, Republican of North Carolina, had already lost his primary, rendering the matter essentially moot. Ha! Let me see if I could find the proper meme.
The fall season.
There you go. There you go. But politics is worse because of MAGA in the USA. I agree. I agree. But yeah. Yeah, McCarthyism, that's right. In a challenge to the candidacy of Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of Georgia, a judge also said that the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol qualified as an insurrection. Damn, so yeah, like the idea that using the word insurrection is somehow out of pocket or exaggerating. It seems like not. It seems like several judges are pretty much on the same page. So yes, I will continue to refer to this as an insurrection. Qualified as an insurrection, but said that there was insufficient evidence that to prove that Miss Green engaged in it. Well, she didn't engage directly in it. She wasn't there leading the freaking charge. She was complicit because she continued to pour gasoline on the fire. That was her job. To continue to pour gasoline on the fire. So, like, it's not It's not as if she was there freaking leading the charge. She was there to incite. Wasn't it? Was it Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the one who was trying to tweet out locations of certain Congress members? The one that comes to mind was like AOC. Hey, Cuts DTV, how's it going? I mean, they rushed to the Capitol with hopes of stopping an election confirmation. Yeah, this is definitely an insurrection. $100%. In some ways, Mr. Griffin's case was a cleaner win for advocates than those in other cases because he was part of that mob. Right. But like an argument can be made for the incitement cause, right? Incitement. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene absolutely continued to incite. On January 6th, Mr. Griffin and a videographer clambered over the barricade of the Capitol and made their way into the inauguration stage in front of the building. There, Mr. Griffin spent more than an hour addressing the mob through a bullhorn. He later said that he was attempting to lead them in prayer. Yeah, okay, buddy. Sure. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and press X to doubt on that one. Even now, Marjorie Taylor Greene says Trump won the election. Yeah, she continues to be part of the problem. She continues to incite and pour gasoline on this whole thing. In March, Judge Trevor McFadden, presiding at a bench trial in the Federal District Court of Washington, found Mr. Griffin guilty of one misdemeanor count of illegally entering a restricted area at the Capitol and acquitted him of another that accused him of disorderly conduct. Mr. Griffin was sentenced in June to 14 days in prison. Mr. Griffin's attempt to challenge Mr. Trump's defeat in the 2020 election, including issuing calls for violence on behalf of the former president. So again, like, I don't understand. This dude was clearly an insurrectionist. So the fact that he got 14 days is just wild. She said it on TV at Trump's rally. Was that recently? Do you follow any Twitch channel or YouTube streamers? I follow a few. I follow a few. I'm usually hanging out in certain chats depending on who's streaming. Last Saturday. Oh man. Wow. I wonder if we can get a clip of that. Is there... I don't want to go through the whole freaking rally just to find that. Right side reporting stream. Wait, where? If you're up on a late weekend, there's a really cool communist and socialist stream. Yeah, just send it to me in whispers or just let me know who it is. I'll shout them out. I can shout them out. Wait, you have TTV as part of your name. Are you a streamer too? Not yet. I am sick. Okay. Well, I hope you feel better. I'm dealing with a virus that can give me cancer. Jesus Christ. Well, yeah, definitely take care of yourself first. Let's see if we can find it this way. IRI stream the pre-rally. Okay. Let's see if we can find it. It was 2 days ago. Today is Tuesday. I mean, I guess 2 days ago would be... That doesn't make sense. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, I mean, streamers generally go very long. I don't, but a lot of streamers do freaking marathons. Okay, so this is just Trump. Is it the litter box in schools? I have no idea what that means. Alright, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea where to find this. Alright, if we can't find it in like the next moment, we'll just move on. It's not that important. Okay, I guess we're just gonna have to look at it from there.
And now schools are wanting to put litter boxes in the schools for these children to use. How is this sanitary?
Oh, okay, but this was a while ago. This was a while ago. Let me go to that to iRice channel. Hey, Uncle Russell Dragon, how's it going?
To secure the southern border, and it's an atrocity. I want to tell you, it's affecting every single county, every single city, every single town across America, where people are flooding across our borders illegally.
Flooding, folks.
Now I know Karine, our lovely White House press secretary,
Right.
doesn't believe it's happening, and she says it's not happening. They're not coming across unvaccinated, but they absolutely are. I've been to the border. I've been to Eagle Pass. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's
Wait,
an
how does she
invasion.
know
It's an
if they're
illegal invasion, and they're bringing deadly fentanyl, and they're killing Americans everywhere. There's not a political party. There's not an age group. There's not a social class or economic class on these deaths. These people are just being murdered by Chinese fentanyl.
They are. Well, we're talking to some more people.
What?
We got the shirt. Miss me yet? Of course. Let's check out the shirt. And I don't think, do we miss him? What is the one thing you miss about President Trump the most?
I just miss his honesty. I'm someone who doesn't like things sugar.
his
I
honesty.
wasn't really a pharmacist during the height of COVID, but all I know is that I remember.
Well, Mike, how has the past 5?
So, kids. And Mike Huckabee has come up with a great book. Times came out after the election and said, yeah, well, there is a laptop, but why in the hell did you not talk about it? Because that could have easily changed a lot of independent voters, but they knew that if the American people found out the truth about Joe Biden and the corruption, that they would not vote for him.
But there was no evidence about this whole, like... There was no evidence regarding this laptop story. This is the crazy thing about free speech. Even though I support it, the right has no hesitation about lying out of their ass. Yeah, like, I mean, free speech is good, but there are limits. I think there are limits. I mean, yeah. His honesty, are these folks brain dead? Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. The the idea that Donald Trump is honest is just laughable. Laughable.
Him, and that's what they wanted.
You know what? I have a solution for that, and this is a piece of legislation that I want to work on. And everybody here, y'all can give me your opinion. You know, the freedom of press is such a wonderful thing in our country.
Wait. You're gonna use a crowd that's already friendly to you as a way to, like, I guess, say that your proposal makes sense? This is obviously this is obviously not logical. This is not rational. He did say they were in Syria for oil. Yeah.
Country, but it's not the freedom to lie. Freedom of press is not the freedom to lie. And the solution for, big companies like the New York Times and CNN, they spend a lot of money pumping out that propaganda that they put out.
Yes, they do.
And I believe if they are
Well,
caught...
I mean, what propaganda? You're gonna have to prove the points that you're making. Otherwise, why would anybody believe you?
caught in a lie or they're caught suppressing information, they should have to spend the same amount of money pumping out their correction and their apology as they did pumping out those lies in the first place.
Yeah, you're
Which
I
right.
think that's the way
lies?
to solve the problem.
And I'll go a step further. If you're watching CNN, MSNBC, or one of those fake news channels, and you see a commercial, I can assure you that that company is not really interested in selling those widgets or that product. They want to push and fund an agenda, because if they really wanted to do a smart media buy, they would buy ads on this network because we have the viewers. They don't have the viewers due to the fake news. So
That's not true at all. Wait. That's not true at all. CNN is huge. Interesting how they left Fox News out of that one. Curious. Very, very, very convenient. But yeah, RSBN is not is not exactly a massive news platform in comparison to something like CNN or MSNBC. Okay, buddy.
next time you see these products, I'm telling you, you got to really look at yourself. Are they really interested in selling the product, or are they selling and funding the agenda? Because the American people have woken up and they're not watching those news channels. And
Whoa, I thought you didn't like the whole woke thing. Hey, Justin, how's it going? Howdy, howdy.
that is a fact. I can show you the numbers. They're watching networks like ours and others for the truth. So,
Absolutely.
So
Oh, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that somebody in production could can put up some, some facts there to back that up. No? Nah? You're just going to say things and expect people to believe them? Okay.
to your point,
Yep.
business corporations are funding these radical socialist agendas.
They are. You
Wait,
want
which radical socialist agenda? Wait, we're talking about the
to
media.
get from it. So the top leaders in these companies, they hire lobbyists, and the lobbyists go in and they talk to me. They talk to all of our colleagues.
Wait. Whoa. Are you saying that you too entertain lobbyists? Uh-oh. Little bit of a slip of the tongue there, my friend. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue there. Oof, yikes. You know, they talk to lobbyists. Oh my god. You can't make this up, folks.
And they get them to put different things in bills that help their industries.
Okay,
Now,
but again, that's not socialism. That's not doing a socialism.
small business owners and many people that work so hard in America, all of you don't have lobbyists in Washington walking in and getting members of Congress like me to put special interest line items in there and massive $trillion spending bills.
Wait, members of Congress like you. So, yeah, you do. Wait, is this a tacit admission that she actually does entertain lobbyists and does actually put in stuff? I mean, she's just flat out admitting it that she does it too. Yeah, socialism is just a catch-all for everything Republicans don't like. Exactly.
Bills. You don't have that. You're supposed to have representatives like me that protect your interests and allow you to be able to work, have
But
low
you just
taxes,
said that you
raise your family.
Wait, but you just said that lobbyists like to add things and speak with representatives like you. So, you are part of the problem here.
Teach your children your faith and raise your children the way that with your values. But they're taking all of that away, and it's a special interest in Congress, and it comes from this big corporation.
Oh no, this is borderline JQ shit. Okay, all right, that's enough. Because there's a special cabal of elites that are taking away your values. They're how do I say this? They're corrupting your children. This is almost indistinguishable from the JQ. If Republicans don't like it, and If Republicans don't like it, it is woke. Yeah, I know. I was just making a meme. Yeah, this is borderline JQ stuff. Jesus Christ.
Those big corporations. We are live here in Pennsylvania with Margie Taylor Greene as we get ready to kick off another rally here in Pennsylvania for Donald J. Trump, our president, the rightful president. Now we've got speeches that start at 4 o'clock. You're going to speak today. It's starting around 4 o'clock.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to speaking to Pennsylvania. I want to talk to you about some things in Pennsylvania that are so important. Pennsylvania is a strong coal energy state. You know, fossil fuels are so important, but driving in here, Brian, we notice wind turbines littered across the beautiful hills and mountains here in Pennsylvania, and I don't think that's what Pennsylvanians want because it's not reliable.
How do you know that? Have you asked? What's the source on the unreliability? Where'd you get that data? Curious. Littered, yeah, as if like the massive freaking like fracking rigs and like all this fossil fuel rigs aren't like just aren't polluting the air and the water. Particularly coal is incredibly dirty.
We were just out in California a few days ago, and they're having rolling blackouts in California.
And why is that, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Why do you think that California is currently experiencing, I don't know if they're experiencing rolling brownouts, but they are, their power is definitely being stressed. It's being stressed. Newsflash, it's not because of renewables. It's not because of renewables. It's because of climate change. Climate change has exacerbated the conditions that have essentially made wildfires worse, have then, by that, have made it stressful, have made the power grids more stressful because of all of the domino effects from climate change. Yeah. You should have seen Trump on wind turbines and fossil fuel. He said that wind turbines have bird graveyards at their base. Not exactly. That's not an entirely accurate picture. And there are ways to minimize that and avoid that. Oh yeah, there's a not-so-secret cabal of individuals trying to corrupt the children, alright? It's called the Republican Party. True. Right, like every accusation is a confession. Maple Leaf Dragon, you're 100% correct. But in this... man, this just sounded like some JQ shit. This just started to sound like some JQ shit. It's 3:20 here, and it says on my phone that it's 99 degrees outside. Sheesh. Yikes.
When they're a rich state in fossil fuels, and so these Joe Biden Democrat energy killing policies are the worst things.
Energy killing policies. Energy killing policy. Yeah, can you explain to me what an energy killing policy is, or how Joe Biden Democrats? I don't know what that is. Can you explain to me what that entails, please? What is the JQ? The Jewish question. It is a common Nazi dog whistle that there is a cabal of Jewish people attempting to corrupt the youth through media, through media, through immigration, and all this other stuff. It ties into all that. She's basically saying that it's actually a cabal of corporate elites who are not really advertising on these television channels because they want to, that they're actually just doing it to fund the agenda. So yeah, this is walking a fine line over here. The only thing missing is her outright saying it's the Jewish people. That's the only thing. Yeah, space lasers. That's the only thing that was missing from that equation there.
For people here in Pennsylvania, it's killing all these jobs in the coal industry. It's killing.
Coal is pretty much a dying industry regardless. Like for the people that are so like pro-capitalism to be saying that like you shouldn't innovate and you should just let like bad products go bad, just like let bad products die. It's very interesting. I love it. These people can't keep a coherent ideology if their life depended on it.
killed jobs in the steel industry in Pennsylvania. But President Trump, when we had him for 4 years, he was fighting back. He was protecting the people in Pennsylvania with tariffs that was protecting jobs right here in Pennsylvania.
No, that's not how tariffs work.
He was investing in clean coal, which was a wonderful
There's no such thing as clean coal
thing to do, and Joe Biden is killing it. So I think the people here in Pennsylvania are excited. They definitely want President Trump back.
Yeah, they do. And of course, we'll talk.
Wait. She said President Trump back. The implication is that he actually didn't win the election, because in order to be back, that would mean you lost the election.
A lot about Doug Mastriano, who's running for governor. Any Doug Mastriano fans here? During his campaign. I was there when he announced. He's a phenomenal candidate for governor. We're going to talk about him in just a second. But I want to turn around. I want to show the crowd. Let's turn the camera around. We'll follow you. We're going to say it, spray it. Let's walk as we are live here in Pennsylvania for President Donald J. Trump's rally here. Now, I want to remind everybody, the misinformation you get in schools can be damaging to your kids. And
what misinformation?
Mike Huckabee has come up with a great book to help you inform your kids on President Trump. So go to...
No way. No way. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, we've reached new levels of just like ridiculousness. Not a cult. Remember, folks, not a cult, not trying to indoctrinate your children. Remember, every accusation is just a confession, folks. Oh my god. I keep getting proven right. Like, every 5 seconds, I keep getting proven right. This is actually ridiculous. They are indoctrinating kids, but here's a book about Trump's they are indoctrinating. Yeah, the radical left is indoctrinating children, but here's a book about Trump to indoctrinate children. Excellent meme. Excellent meme. You can't make this stuff up. You literally cannot make this stuff up.
freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com, and learn the facts about the greatest president in American history, President Donald J. Trump. It's a great children's book. It's got great pictures, some illustrations, all the accomplishments that President Trump had over the last 4 years. So go to free.
Why would children need to be like? Why would children need to be understanding of this? Trump frequently walked into dressing rooms at Miss Teen USA. Oh yeah, 100%. That happened. Not because of some rumors. He said it. It's on tape. This isn't a rumor. This isn't like an allegation or anything like that. He said it on tape. It's on video. Looks like they're plagiarizing North Korean school literature. Yep. Remember, every accusation is just a confession. They talk about freedom, and they talk about like how the radical left is trying to take away freedoms and indoctrinate kids and all this other stuff. And like, really, it's just them. They're the authoritarians. The tyrannical left is trying to destroy freedoms. It's really them.
TrumpBook.com. Mike Huckabee has put together such a beautiful...
Okay. I can't find it. Oh, it's freetrumpbook.com. Okay. Oh, man. Oh, man, the grift is real. That book looks creepy. It is. Wait, that's a Mike Huckabee book? Yep. WTF is this? I came back at a weird time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's take a look at this. A peek inside the Trump presidency. Oh, man. Restoring Faith in America's Streaming Video and Digital Workbook. Oh my god. The Kid's Guide to President Trump is unbiased. Okay. Is unbiased and will help your kids learn everything there is to know from his election in 2016 and his greatest accomplishments as president. Okay. As an added bonus for you parents, we're giving you unlimited access to Great Again, Restoring Faith in America, streaming video and digital workbook from our Learn Our History. What's more, the special issue of Everbright Kid magazine will help your kids celebrate America and enjoy oodles of great content and activities that will keep them entertained for hours. Yeah, not a cult, folks. Not a cult. Not a cult. Why would I ever want to give my kids a peek inside the Trump presidency? Good question. As part of this special offer, here kids can look forward to a new guide covering an important topic for kids every 3 to 4 weeks, including accompanying streaming video lessons. Yeah, not a cult, folks. Not a cult. Not a indoctrination. Not an indoctrination guide. A huge Noah's Ark paid for by taxpayers with, oh yeah, this is wild.
With the message of the truth of God's word and the gospel, because we're Christians. And so as Christians, the Bible tells us to go and preach the gospel and contend for the faith. And we also know that Noah's Ark is well known around the world. I mean, the Creation Museum has been very successful.
Yeah,
2.6
go
million people have
fuck
come through that.
yourself.
Wonderful book for that.
Oh, it's so good. You know, history is so important and education is so important. But look at what Democrats are doing to education.
Yeah.
What else
They
are
are
doing?
completely eroding our education,
How?
lowering the bar and
Wait. Every accusation is a confession, folks. What did Ron DeSantis just do in Florida? Anybody want to tell me? What did Ron DeSantis just do in Florida? Did you see Lincoln swearing in Trump? Yeah. Absolute freaking clown show. Anyways, I'm already bored. I want to see her make her speech.
It's all about liking and trusting somebody, and of course you.
Mastriano.
There you go. Front. Project.
Like you can
pa.com and
or maybe it was
A great resource to.
Doug Mastriano.
MAGA Republicans.
As one.
Oh.
Or being
Congressional district.
And you want to know something else, Pennsylvania? President Trump won the 2020 election.
Perfect. Damn, that's all I wanted to hear. Damn, I landed on the perfect freaking soundbite. Wow. No, I was referring to Ron DeSantis lowering the bar for education, because she just said that Democrats want to lower the bar and lower the standards for education. Meanwhile, it's actually Republicans like Ron DeSantis who want to lower the bar and lower the standards for education. Yeah. Anyways, I landed on the perfect soundbite. Damn. Yeah, she just flat out continues to say these things, right? So back to the actual, like, the original argument here. She continues to incite this sentiment, is my point. Which is why we took this whole freaking detour. But nonetheless, that was interesting. Anyways, it was to prove the point, or to make the point, that she continues to incite this sentiment. So yeah, I don't think that she should be allowed to continue to run. That's my opinion. Mr. Griffin's attempt to challenge Trump's defeat in 2020, including issues for calls for violence. So domestic terrorism on behalf of the former president, again, which then, if he thinks that he's doing this on behalf of President Trump, that makes President Trump also, by definition, an implicit actor here. WrestleMania, yeah, except it's worse because these are continuing to instigate and incite insurrectionary behavior. A photo of Mastriano in the Confederate garb was found, and the GOP and PA dropped their endorsement. What? Why would they drop their endorsement? What? What's wrong? That's their guy. That's their guy. Issuing calls for violence on behalf of former president preceded the events of January 6, according to the ruling by this judge in New Mexico. As early as November of 2020, the ruling said that Mr. Griffin attended to stop the steel rallies in his home state, some of them with a militia group known as the New Mexico Civil Guard, which also, I believe, was involved in incidents, in that, I don't know if it was that particular rally or, I don't know, but I believe someone almost, if not actually got shot at, I think, by this New Mexico Civil Guard. Yeah. He also took part in a multicity bus tour arranged by pro-Trump group Women for America First, designed to recruit protesters to go to Washington for Mr. Trump's speech on January 6th, in which he called on his supporters to, quote, fight like hell, which is exactly the same rhetoric that Trump uses. So again, just to reiterate, this is all the same continued behavior and rhetoric that's coming from the president against his election laws, and urged him to march on the Capitol while Congress was meeting to confirm it. At a stop in Woodlands, Texas, on January 1st, the ruling said that Mr. Griffin urged the crowd to review the attempts to overturn the election as a last-ditch fight, comparing it to the famous standoff at the Alamo. This is a battle and a war we cannot lose. Yeah, but facts don't really care about your fifis, my friend. My insurrectionary friend. 2 days later, in Bowling Green, Mr. Griffin told the crowd that a war was underway with elitist... Oh man, the dog whistles. Gross, wicked, vile people. And said that we gotta have our country back, which again mimics the rhetoric that Donald Trump uses about fighting for a country, saving the country, and whatnot. A photo, yeah. Wait, what was that about the Alamo? He's basically trying to say that the Stop the Steal fight is akin to the Alamo. Clown, just some clown logic here. That's all. In Atlanta, on January 4th, the ruling said that Mr. Griffin, and mind you, this is to set a precedent, right? This guy's MO, from beginning to end, as soon as he bought into this idea that Donald Trump put out there, and continuously put out there, from the beginning, before the elections were even held, Donald Trump was consistently pushing this and pushing this and pushing this and pushing this. And yeah, no shit, this is what's going to happen. Mr. Griffin represented himself in the 14th Amendment case. Nicholas Smith, a lawyer who represented him during his criminal trial, declined to comment. In the Atlanta 4th ruling, Mr. Griffin anticipated that there could be violence when crowds of people descend on Washington for Mr. Trump's speech. Of course, because that's what he wanted. We lost the Alamo, that's right. Speaking to another crowd, he called on men from across our nation to come to D.C. because it might be a battle. I wonder who could possibly put that idea in his head. I would like to see someone duplicate the free Trump book, but only substitute Obama's name and achievements and donate all the copies to school and step back and see what happens. That's hilarious. Even after his criminal conviction, Mr. Griffin, a bombastic man, a domestic terrorist is what we're trying to say, who briefly considered riding a horse to his sentencing at the courthouse, continued to publicly disparage his case and insult the judge who heard it. He took to Twitter, court papers said, and complained that Judge McFadden had issued a pre-written guilty verdict. That's not how that works, my dude. Decrying it as pathetic and adding, I wonder who wrote it. The judge. What, did you think the jury was rigged too? Like the election? Both of those claims have no evidence. There's no such thing as like pre-issuing a guilty verdict. It doesn't come from the judge. Screaming in leftist text, and every kid is taught about the Alamo in Texas. Get your facts straight. True. After he was sentenced, Mr. Griffin urged reporters to examine a series of debunked conspiracy theories about the January 6th insurrection, including one about an Arizona man who was falsely pegged as an undercover FBI. Right, the whole, this was a FBI thing. Nah, you're just a bunch of insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. Sorry, it is what it is. If you don't like what you see in the mirror, maybe have some introspection. Like, these people are literally doing... I almost want to say impressive levels of mental gymnastics, Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to avoid responsibility. That's what this is. That's what this is. Amazing. Imagine thinking that you think that this was some kind of like conspiracy theory by the FBI, but also be a big part of like arranging a whole bunch of people to show up there, but also speaking to crowds, talking about the potential for violence, and then be like surprised Pikachu face when you're like leading it and inciting it, and then trying to simultaneously peg it on FBI agents. What? You can't have it both ways, my friend. You can't simultaneously be on video talking about how you want to rile up the crowd, talking about how you need men from across the country because it's going to be a fight or whatever, and talking about war and talking about saving our country and fighting like hell or whatever, you know, and also be surprised Pikachu face when that happens because you were there at the forefront of this thing, and also simultaneously try to say that this was some kind of FBI op. It can't be the FBI is trying to get you while you're also trying to like incite the things and then surprise Pikachu face when the violence happens. Even the SCOTUS did not help Trump. Yeah, but the GOP isn't interested in what's real or what's not. The GOP right now, the Republican Party right now, is interested in one thing, and that's to rock the faith of the electoral systems rock the foundation of essentially democracy to then say, look, it's rigged, it doesn't matter. We're the ones who actually won, and try to instill that doubt. Instill the doubt on free and fair elections. That's the only thing that they're really interested when it comes to this. I don't think they care if it's true or not or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is it serves their purpose. That's it. Around that time, Mr. Griffin also took part in an attempt by the Otero County Commission to reject certification of a recent local election until voting machines in the country were inspected. Unreal. Anyways. So because of his provable insurrectionary behavior, this guy will not be allowed to hold office. To which I say, oh well. Oh well. What is your take on the Ukraine conflict? Honestly, I'm not versed enough in foreign policy to even begin to formulate a good, coherent, or I should say, a well-informed opinion. But from what it looks like, it looks bad. Russia decided that they were going to attempt to be a bully, and it didn't work out for them. It did not work out for them. Have you seen Ukraine on Fire? I don't know what that is. Is that a documentary? Oliver Stone? Oh, I don't know. I have not seen it. Oh, this was in 2016. No, I would have to see it. It's not even that. They want to maintain power by whatever means necessary, norms, laws, and procedures, evidence, and common sense be damned. That's true. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. I wonder if this bully thought that they would be all on their own to handle the abuse. Unfortunately, when you punch a bully back, they kind of run away. I wonder how many more punches does it take for them to do so, until they're out of gas. Really. Don't watch it on stream. It shows a shootout between the coup d'etat plotters and the Ukraine government in 2014. Oh yeah, I remember that incident. Yeah, no, I can't watch it, period, because of copyright. But yeah, certainly something to look into. I have not seen it, so. The situation there is still pretty sensitive, I think, and the best case scenario is that the entirety, all parties involved, need to find a way to diplomatically end this. And, like, imperialism is bad. When you incur on neighboring territories, it is not acceptable. So, yeah. When you incur on, like, neighboring territories, not okay. You learn about the legacy of Nazism in Western Ukraine. Yeah, I'm sort of, like, kind of, I understand that was a problem. The Azov Battalion, yes, that's a problem, and it was reported on multiple times. Yes, that is a problem. That is not to take away from, like, the general gist of everything. But yes, I do know about that. At least I've heard about it. The legacy of communism is older than the legacy of Nazism in Ukraine, not that I'm indulging a supremely simplistic interpretation of how nations' national memory works. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, clearly the Nazism elements, and in particular with the whole, like, Azov thing, yeah, totally condemnable. That's not a problem. Totally easy condemn. But that doesn't excuse what Russia did, right? Like, you don't invade other countries. That's like, no, that's a no-no. So when right-wing factions are terrorizing Slavic people, torching a building with communist youth inside in 2015 and killed thousands of Eastern Ukrainians, yeah, and if that's the case, that's pretty bad, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. So you can condemn those actors easily. You can condemn those folks easy peasy. Condemn all actors. Only the bad ones, though. Only the bad ones, except Brendan Fraser. That's true. That is true. We can leave Brendan Fraser out of this one. How's it going this simulacrum? Let's go, Brendan. Wait, Brandon? No. Let's go, Brendan. Yeah, that sounds better. Rolls off the tongue a little better. I just watched the first episode of ESVN. The Emma... Wait, what is it? The Emma Sports... Shoot. Oh man, now this is embarrassing. It's the Emma Sports... The Emma Sports Viglin Network? Really? That's the entirety of the acronym. I thought it was something else. Yeah, okay. I guess it makes sense. It's her and Brandon, right? It's her and Brandon, or is she going to have like revolving guests? I unfortunately didn't catch it. I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't understand much of it anyways. YouTube's auto captions called it ESPN. No! Emma and Bradley. Okay, so it is just Emma and Bradley. What, on TYT? No. It's its own separate thing. It's its own separate thing, my friend. I found out because they made an announcement today on, well, no, was it yesterday? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. On the on Friday, they made an announcement, right? Because Monday was Labor Day. So I believe it was Friday. They made an announcement that she's gonna have her own thing, and that's going to be just like a sports channel kind of deal. Apparently, it's with her and Bradley. So I would definitely recommend join the Majority Report Discord. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to give you more information. I'm just not that knowledgeable about sports, so I wouldn't understand it. But join the Majority Report Discord. I'm there. You'll see me there. You'll see me there. They're gonna have guests and Walsney Lambert sometime soon. Oh, that's pretty cool. So it is gonna be like they're gonna have guests too. Okay, interesting. That's pretty cool. Well, the crowd has spoken. They've wanted a majority sports for a while, and here it is. What did the operatives do in the election office? They allowed people who weren't supposed to be there. And allegedly, those operatives breached in. I don't know if they breached machines or was it machines or they touched something that they weren't supposed to. We'll probably figure it out here. Trump elector escorted operatives into Georgia county election before voting machine. Okay, I should have just read the headline. Yeah, it was the voting machines. I hope they use some cable descenders to defeat the pressure-sensitive floor, and they shouldn't call themselves operatives. A Republican county official escorted 2 operatives working with an attorney for former President Trump into the county election office on the same day a voting system there was breached. So essentially, a county official in Georgia allowed people who weren't supposed to be there to obtain unauthorized access to voting machines. Yeah, this definitely should be investigated. All covert action is a conspiracy before it's revealed as true. I don't know if that's how I would formulate my opinions. I think it's interesting to look into it. But that is not how I would formulate my my logic. I would see what's exactly going on here. A Republican county official, Georgia, escorted 2 operatives working with an attorney for President Trump into the county's election office on the same day a voting system there was breached. The breach is now under investigation by the GBI and is of interest to the Fulton County District Attorney, who is conducting a wider criminal probe of the interference in the 2020 election. The video sheds more light about how an effort spearheaded by lawyers and others around Trump to seek evidence of voter fraud was executed on the ground from Georgia to Michigan to Colorado, often with the assistance of sympathetic local officials, which is why it's so important Which is why it's so important to understand how these folks are enacting this plan, right? By putting sympathetic local officials, by winning these local elections, things like this happen. In the surveillance video, which was obtained by CNN, Kathy Latham, a former GOP chairwoman of Coffee County, who is under criminal investigation for posing as a fake elector in 2020. So not only did she pose as a fake elector, but she also escorted pro-Trump operatives to the county's election office on January 7th, the day after the insurrection, the same day a voting system there is known to have been breached. 2 men seen and the false slates of elector will be created. Well, yeah, they were. To think that they won't try this again would be naive. 2 men seen in the video with Latham, Scott Hall, and Paul Maggio have acknowledged that they've successfully gained access to a voting machine in Coffee County at the behest of Trump lawyer Sidney Powell. Text messages, emails, and witness testimony filed as a part of a long-running civil suit into the security of Georgia's voting systems showed Latham communicated directly with then Coffee County election supervisor about getting access to the office, both before and after the breach. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious what happened here. One text message, according to court documents, shows Latham coordinating the arrival and whereabouts of a team led by Paul Maggio and traveled to Coffee County at the direction of Powell. 3 days after the breach, Latham texted the Coffee County election supervisor, "Did you finish with the scanner?" according to the court documents. So they were, I guess, scanning these machines or what? Latham testified she did not know what Hall was doing in Coffee County, but then when confronted with the text about the scanner, she asserted her Fifth Amendment rights. How many millions starve every year in the U.S.? Yeah, a lot. I don't know, like what that has to do with like history. Yeah, so just to be clear, it looks like there are 2 things here. Number 1, Holodomor did happen. Number 2, it was man-made. The Kazakhs did die at a high number. I don't know who that is, or I guess what group that is, but the reason was the same as the Ukrainians. They were deemed enemies of the state. Even saying that other people died of starvation, they did not as much as Ukraine, though. It's not a win. Russia starving millions of people, regardless of their nationality, was absolutely barbaric, and they continue to deny any responsibility till that day. Yeah, this happened. This guy, Lazar Kagnovich, was a key point in enforcing Stalin's policies that led to the Holodomor. Yeah. The supposed nation of people starved millions to death knowingly, and they took food from people. They took it from their livestock and their property, and they burned down their homes, and they shot them for stealing food. Yeah, all this happened. Famine is not famine when it's man-made. Yeah, the definition... Well, famine is an extreme scarcity of food. But this was a direct result of Stalin's policies, okay? Let's not kid ourselves. There's also a lot of data that doesn't really match up to the old Soviet data. The exact same thing happened in Ireland. The British took the food from the Irish people. There was no famine in Ireland. There was a potato blight, and the other food was taken. Jesus. I thought it was a completely natural thing where all the potatoes died. Jesus. Yeah, this is why I prefer to read and understand the subject before making comments. This is exactly why. Because I did not know that. I thought the Great Potato Famine, or whatever, was a natural thing where all the potatoes died and people, starved. Yeah. Yeah. There was a potato disease. That killed the crops, but the British forces actively removed food from farms that was healthy to sell abroad, and the landlord class allowed that because they were specifically set up to given land by the British state. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I learned a much more reductive story to that. I didn't know that they were literally taking food from the islands. Wait, the causes of the Holodomor are known. I don't really think that's up for debate. I don't think that's up for debate. The causes were man-made, and they were a direct result of like Stalin's policies. That's not that's not really that's not really like, I think, up for dispute, to my understanding. You can send any links to me via Whispers, and I can always take a look. But I know that those two things happened. Okay, those two things I know happened. Holodomor happened. One, it happened, and two, it was a direct result of Stalin's policies. I mean, how could it not be? If your claim is that all of Russia was starving, then by definition, the leadership, which included Stalin, had a hand in it, right? Obviously. There's a very strong debate about Ireland and genocide too. Some people say it is, and some people it isn't. I personally have always concluded that it is guilt by omission. In Britain, much like Russia, they were responsible because of inaction as much of action. They refused to act despite the knowledge. Both of these things do not dispute what I'm saying. This Wikipedia page is proving my point. This Wikipedia page is proving my point. 1, Holodomor happened. 2, it was a result of Stalin's policies. These are the two things that I am sure of. And this Wikipedia thing is saying that I am correct. No, your own. Wait, so you're saying you sent me the wrong sources? The famine that ravages Soviet Ukraine is resulting death of around 3 to 5 million people are the subject of scholarly and political debate. Yes, such as all things. Such as the Holodomor genocide question, some historians believe the famine was unintended consequences of the problems of Soviet agriculture collectivizations implemented to support programs of rapid industrialization. Stalin's policies under Joseph Stalin. Others believe it was intentionally designed to cause the famine. Also, a direct result of Joseph Stalin's policies. Jesus Christ. There was a book by Miron Dolat, who was an eyewitness to the actual event. He wrote a book about it called Execution by Hunger. I mean, even the Soviet Union acknowledged that the policy of food requisition was a grave mistake. What does some believe not register in your mind? Because in both instances, the conclusion that you take away from it is that it was A, it happened, B, it was Stalin's fault. What are you talking about? Both of these are conclusions of Stalin's policies. Both of these would be consequences of problems arising from, that's right, programs of rapid industrialization under Joseph Stalin. Others believe it was intentional. Also a direct result of Joseph Stalin's policies. That seems to be pretty much like exactly what I'm reading. I mean, the hunger was absolutely caused by taking food away from people. That's not even in dispute. Well, yeah. The dispute is about whether they selectively chose it to eliminate a specific people, and that's where the debate is. Yeah, I mean, but like, we can go back and forth, but two things are like two things I know happened. A, this happened, and B, it was a direct result of Stalin's policies. That's it. That's what I'm getting from this. Well, I agree to disagree between us scholars. Gotta go. Have a nice evening. You too. Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, like, can you do an accidental genocide? No. I think genocide by definition has to be, I don't think there's such a thing as accidental genocide. By definition, genocide has to have a deliberate intent behind it, right? By definition, genocide has to have a deliberate intent, right? So, like, again, even in the source being given here, whether it was because Stalin made these policies that, you know, resulted in this atrocity, or whether it was because Stalin did it intentionally, the truth of the matter is that it happened, and it was his policies that led to this. I don't think that that's really a controversial statement. Genocide by omission is the closest and not recognized. It's not a recognized definition. It's the only one I've ever used in an academic setting. It's one I've only ever used in an academic setting, but it's purely for research rather than any sort of legal grounding. Yeah, like, I don't know. We can have that back and forth. There would be genuine disagreement about the intent of the policy, right? Because then intent, you have the definition, because there must be a deliberate intent in order for that to be a genocide. But there's no debate on the cause of the mass hunger. Yeah, I'm not disputing that. Even this tells us what exactly happened here. The problem is the policies that were enacted led to this. That's it. I don't think that's really up for debate. The scholarly debate. Encyclopedia Britannica says there's no physical basis for the famine, and that Soviet authorities set quotas at exceedingly high levels. According to historians, there were two bad harvests, largely not within largely but not wholly as a result of natural conditions. Warcraft suggests that anthropogenic hazards such as various agrotechnical failures may have exacerbated the low harvest. Tauger, in contrast, argues that human factors such as low traction power and exhausted workforce were worse in 1933 than previous years, and there had been a high harvest, so the cost of low harvest was mostly due to various natural factors. The collectivization and high procurement quota explanation for the famine is somewhat called into question by the fact that the oblasts of Ukraine, with the highest loss being Kiev and Kharkiv, which produced far lower amounts of grain than any other section of the country. A potential explanation was that Kharkiv and Kiev were fulfilled and overfilled the grain procurements in 1930, which led to what? Rayons? In rations in these oblasts having their procurement quotas doubled. Ethical evaluation of Soviet policy. Genocide by omission is the closest. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was purely to bring context to the fact that Ukraine, mainly like Eastern European states, have suffered a lot, deep trauma passed down through generations that leave people with amplified levels of culture anxiety. That's why things like extremism is more commonplace in those others than further west. The more people suffer, the more they tend to be wary of suffering again, which leads them to seek safety in the known, which is the instance often means white Christians and etc. Yeah, which leads and fuels that extremism. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, which is why you see the characters of the far right show themselves in these areas. Yeah, that makes total sense. So like, what our friend was trying to point out was that it was not The dispute is about like the actual total definition of genocide. But like that's an academic debate, which obviously I'm not going to indulge because I'm not an academic, nor do I have the credentials or capacity to entertain this debate. But regardless, the statement that I have made is right, I think. The statement that I have made is right. 1, it happened. 2, it was a result of Stalin's policies. That's it. I don't think that's a controversial take, and I think it's pretty, I guess, rational. Extremism isn't good, but the context of their history, it can make sense. Yeah, just because, okay, yeah, it makes sense as to why they would react this way, but it doesn't make it good. An invasion and war only make it worse. Yeah, like right here, Wheatcroft says that the Soviet government's policies during this famine were criminal acts of fraud and manslaughter, though not outright murder or genocide. In regard to Soviet state reaction to this crisis, Wheatcroft comments that good harvest of 1930 led to decisions to export substantial amounts of grain in 1931 and 1932. The Soviet leaders also assumed that the wholesale socialization of livestock farming would lead to the rapid growth of meat and dairy production. These policies failed. Yeah, so again, it's yeah. Anyways. Anyways, I think I made my point. And I've spoken to people from Eastern Europe, from Poland and Estonia. People have my age know the stories of the past. I've had them tell me what happened to their great grandparents, their parents, the grandparents, their homes. As someone who is part of the post-famine Irish this diaspora, I can totally get why those stories resonate through time. I mean, yeah. Most people tell me about atrocities in World War II, but I'm sure it goes back further too. Well, yeah, I mean, throughout history, there's plenty of atrocities to go around all over the place. Yeah. Anywho. Maggio did not respond to CNN's comment for request for comment. Instead, the data firm he works for, Sullivan Strickler, which court documents showed was hired by Sidney Powell, said in a statement to CNN that it was directed by attorneys to contact county election officials to obtain access to certain data. Jesus. And Georgia, and also directed by attorneys to distribute that data to certain individuals. In an August 29th of 2022, email, an attorney for Sullivan Strickler acknowledges that Latham was a primary point of contact in coordinating the team's visit to the Coffee County. The firm said it had no reason to believe these attorneys would ask or direct it to do anything either improper or illegal. Hall, an Atlanta bail bondsman at Fulton County Republican poll watcher, did not reply to repeated requests for comments from CNN. The newly obtained surveillance video and text messages in the civil lawsuit suggested that the fake elector plot and the effort to breach the voting machines in Georgia were part of a larger coordinated plan to subvert the 2020 election. Some of the same Trump lawyers and allies who have helped orchestrate this effort to seat fake electors in states Trump lost in 2020 were also involved in attempts to gain unauthorized access by voting machines in numerous counties and states around the country as seen as friendly towards the former president. The video that revealed Kathy Latham had a more significant role with the Sullivan-Strickler team's work in Coffee County than she claimed, said David Cross, an attorney representing election integrity groups suing Georgia over its voting systems and who has reviewed the video. We can see her escort the team into the office that morning, for example. She's an important connection to the effort to create a slate of Georgia electors who have wrongly voted for Trump in the 2020 election, and which now looks to be the subject of a grand jury investigation in Fulton County. According to court documents, Latham has provided conflicting answers during depositions when asked about her involvement in the breach and whether she was at Coffee County election office in the day it occurred. The video confirms that she was there when it took place and literally held the door open for those who breached the voting systems. Previously, the Justice Department had warned election officials not to allow outside access of this kind. Latham did not respond to CNN's request for comment. A lawyer representing Latham did not dispute the facts of the story and said that Latham did not have authority to authorize anyone to do anything with the ballots. Yikes. Tina too, and her actually Tina too, her family, I believe, is from Eastern Europe. And she told a little bit of it on stream, and unfortunately, it completely echoed what I've heard from others. Damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, most people tell me about atrocities, but I'm sure it goes back further. In terms of people I meet from Eastern Europe, rather, Hungary or something, I haven't caught them speaking much about it, just in occasional mentions. Gotcha. For some reason, the bot hates its post. I mean, World War II completely ravaged those parts of Europe too. Ukrainians, for example, suffered the Holodomor, and then the Nazis invaded, and then at first welcomed them, and then they started to welcome them as liberators, and then they started in mass executing thousands of Jews abroad in broad daylight, and swiftly realized that they just traded one group of tyrants for another. I don't think you can even imagine how that must feel. Yeah. That's not the first time I've seen that kind of sentiment. That's not the first time I've seen that sentiment. Yeah, I don't know. It's not up here, James Napper. It's not coming up here. Anyways, regardless of whether she correctly remembers a detail of what time she spent there on January 7th, it doesn't change the fact that she had no authority to do any of this and was not personally involved in whatever was done. A second lawyer representing Latham, Bob Cheeley, told CNN that Kathy Latham has dedicated significant time and effort over many years protecting the integrity of elections in the Coffee County, Georgia. She would not and has not knowingly been involved in any propriety in any election. Yeah, video evidence suggests that, no. Latham did not authorize or participate in any ballot scanning efforts, computer imaging, or any similar activity in Coffee County in January of 2021. Operatives connected to Trump campaign and legal team worked with the local GOP officials to gain access to voting systems in counties across several states following the 2020 election, including Coffee County. The goal was to produce evidence to back up Trump's baseless claim and ultimately upend Joe Biden's victory, even after it was certified on January 6th. Among them was Cyber Ninjas, which we all remember, CEO Doug Logan, who oversaw the partisan election audit in Maricopa and was recently named by the Michigan Attorney General as a target in the state-level criminal investigation into unauthorized voting machine breaches in that state. Newly obtained surveillance video shows Logan also visited Coffee County election office more than once in January of 2021, roughly 2 weeks after the breach took place. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to derail the stream or properly have a go at that other poster. I'm trying not to do that kind of stuff as it just makes the environment a bit hostile. It's okay. I mean, like, I think that, I think my statement was pretty fair. Yeah? I mean, considering that I am not really well versed in history, especially when it comes to that, my knowledge, I think, is pretty limited. But I think my statements were fair. I think my statements were fair. On December 30th, 2020, 8 days before the January 7 voting machine breach, Latham testified along with Giuliani before Georgia state lawmakers about supposed voter machine irregularities in Coffee County. Damn. At the time, Latham and Giuliani team were represented by the same attorney according to the minutes from that hearing. When asked during a recent deposition in the Georgia civil case whether she knew or ever had any communication with Giuliani, Latham asserted her Fifth Amendment rights. Latham, is a target of 2 criminal investigations into efforts to overturn the 2020 election, one by Fulton County District Attorney Office and a parallel probe by the Justice Department according to multiple sources and documents obtained by CNN. Both of those investigations are looking specifically at the fake elector plot. State investigators in Georgia are also examining the Coffee County voting machine breach. Yeah, again, this is just wild to me. And this is just wild to me that, like, again, there was a plot in multiple states by the GOP, by conservatives, by the Republican Party to literally subvert the 2020 election by shoehorning fake electors. I get a little defensive because I do have some friends in Eastern Europe, and to be honest, more before I knew them, I used to not understand it either. I didn't understand their affinity with NATO, but I get it now, and I see a lot of my family's experience as part of the Irish diaspora in them. The stories are very similar. Yeah, I didn't know that about the Irish famine. I did not know that. It's interesting just like how little details can make a completely different picture, right? Because it's very different to say there was a really bad blight that killed a bunch of potatoes in Ireland and people starved to death. And yeah, there's a very big difference between saying, yeah, there was a disease, killed a bunch of potatoes, people went starving. And then to say, like, yeah, there's a disease that killed a lot of the potatoes, and the good ones were taken by the British Crown. Latham is a target of 2 criminal... Oh, yeah, we did this one. Trump allies target rural GOP stronghold of Georgia. In the weeks coming after the election, Coffee County quickly emerged as a central part of the Trump team's push to overturn this election. The reliably Republican stronghold of about 43,000 residents was the only county in Georgia that refused to certify its results after the election, even though Trump won nearly 70% of that vote. What? Trump and his lawyers had an ally in Latham who was open to helping push their claims of fraud and was leading a voice among those raising concerns about the Dominion voting systems using Coffee County. But, like, they won with over 70% of the vote. So, like, what was the issue here? The Irish one was deeply traumatic. I had a lecturer in the past who actually did a whole study, which became a chapter in a book, about how it genetically impacted the later generations of Irish survivors. Interesting, I didn't even know that was possible. Trump rally on September 17th in Ohio. There's always cultural and physical echoes of major traumatic events that left imprinted on people who live on the people who live on. The task of historians is to extract it and bring context to the present. Yeah, and, you know, obviously the job of historians is to not only just present this, but present it as it happened. Yeah. it was one of two counties referenced in a draft executive order that, if signed by Trump, would have ordered the military Department of Homeland Security to seize voting machines across the country. They would have also installed a special counsel with the power to investigate voter fraud. Yeah, while those documents were never found, while those documents were never signed, the draft orders were presented to Trump during a now infamous Oval Office meeting on December 18th of 2020, which was attended by election deniers, including Michael Flynn, according to CNN reporting, and testimony before the House Select Committee investigating January 6th. Just think about that for a second. There was drafted executive orders that this president took into consideration, which stated that the military or the Department of Homeland Security would have the power to seize voting machines, install a special counsel with the power to investigate voter fraud, which, whatever that means, is whatever they want it to mean. Yeah, that is just wild. That is just wild. Think about that for a second. Can you imagine a president signing an executive order which orders the military or the Department of Homeland Security to just seize voting machines? Just like that. I remember hearing about genetic trauma. I wonder if it's something related or other than just passing down stories. I don't know. I don't know how that works. While those documents were never signed, the draft orders were presented to Trump during a now infamous Oval Office meeting. Yes, we read over this. In the weeks that after the meeting, gaining access to voting machines became a top priority for Trump allies seeking to overturn the election. As those closest to former president thought it was the only way to actually prove there was widespread fraud, according to direct knowledge of the matter. Trump's inner circle was warned by several Republican lawmakers that without evidence of fraud, their plan to subvert the Electoral College would almost certainly fail. Text messages obtained by the Select Committee. Yeah, so like this entire party knew. Powell was among who took the lead in the hunt for evidence of voter fraud, turning her attention to Coffee County in the days before January 6. Emails produced as part of the civil suit obtained by CNN show. Like Latham, Powell was in direct contact with members of the team that traveled to Coffee County, and Powell appears to have hired them for the task, the emails show. According to the civil lawsuit, members of the team, including Howell, the Atlanta bail bondsman who is seen on the surveillance footage being escorted into the Coffee County election office by Latham, and an audio recording obtained by CNN, Howell claims that he chartered the jet to go down to Coffee County and have them inspect all those computers. I went down there. We scanned every freaking ballot. Jesus. Yikes. The same people that went up to Michigan. Hall also suggests that the same group of people who orchestrated the breach in the Coffee County also gained access to voting machines in Antrim County, Michigan, weeks before. The same people that went up to Michigan, Oklahoma, and did all that forensic stuff on computers, and they sent their own team to Coffee County, Georgia. They scanned all the equipment, imaged all the hard drives, and scanned every single ballot. Maggio was among those who involved in both efforts, according to a previously reported document documents related to the inspection of the voting machines in Antrim County and his own testimony in a civil court case related to the Coffee County breach. Call also claims that he and his team of individuals who traveled to Coffee County had permission from local election officials to access the voting systems. It is unclear if federal authorities are investigating whether attempts to gain access to voting machines after the 2020 election were part of a coordinated multi-state effort carried out by Trump allies, but state investigators in Georgia are examining the possibility of a broader plot, which, if the evidence shows that this is the case, then yeah, they should investigate these people. Plain and simple. Earlier this year, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson shared information with members of the House Committee, as well as Attorney General Merrick Garland, to assist in the investigation of whether pro-Trump operatives gained access to voting machines in Antrim County as part of the coordinated plot overseen by former president's legal team. Since then, evidence has emerged linking several people who gained access to voting systems in Antrim County to the breach in Coffee County, including Powell and Maggio. In a recent court filing, Phil Waldron, a retired Army colonel who was deeply involved in the efforts to overturn this election, claimed that the federal grand jury has been impaneled and a team of federal prosecutors and FBI agents are conducting a sweeping criminal investigations into those, among others, who have worked in the cybersecurity space on election and voting-related issues. The filing came as part of Waldron's month-long court fight with the House Select Committee investigating January 6th, which had subpoenaed Waldron's phone records. Waldron has argued that if the House Committee gets his phone records, they could end up in the hands of federal prosecutors that he says are also investigating efforts to obtain election data by seizing and tampering with voting machines. CNN previously reported that Waldron was part of the team that reviewed election data obtained by Antrim County, helped craft the draft executive orders for seizing voting machines, and coordinated efforts to access voting systems in several states to bolster Trump's claim about widespread election fraud. He also testified during a December 2021 hearing on election fraud held by state lawmakers in Georgia and was introduced by Giuliani. A source familiar with Trump's legal defense strategy expressed concern about the prospect of federal prosecutors targeting cyber investigators like Waldron because they may attempt to flip them in order to bolster their potential case against a former president. Oh man. It just gets better and better. On August 25th, Waldron and Powell were ordered to testify as part of the Fulton County District Attorney's probe. In a court filing, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis specifically notes that Powell can likely provide information about the breach in Coffee County, as well as similar efforts in Michigan and Nevada related to voting machines. Yikes. The walls seem to get a little bit more snug, huh? That's what that sounds like to me. Furthermore, I'd like to point out that, again, it is just absolutely ludicrous that Republicans have spent the last 2 years crying about a plot to overturn Donald Trump's rightful victory or whatever, when in reality it's them. And I'm not talking about conspiracy theories, I'm talking about communications. Literal surveillance footage of them doing it. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is ludicrous. The fact that, like, very little accountability is going on right now is just wild. It's just unbelievable to me. But here we are. We've got a couple of more things, and we should be on our way. Historic unforgiving western heat wave is peaking and crushing records yet again, folks. This one's just going to be a quick one. Historic severe September heat wave is baking the West, breaking hundreds of records, posing a danger to public health and pushing California's power grid to the limit. Some records have been shattered by wide margins as the scorching air mass exacerbates the fire danger in the drought-stricken region. All of this, of course, is being exacerbated by climate change. California's independent system operator says the state's electric grid is under heavy strain and rotating outages could occur unless consumers reduce their energy use even more than they have since the heat wave began a week ago. This is an extraordinary heat event that we're experiencing, and the efforts by consumers to lean in and reduce their energy use after 4 p.m. are absolutely essential. Jesus. This is wild. The ISO is urging residents to pre-cool their homes to 72 on Tuesday and Wednesday morning and then turning up the thermostat to 78 during peak demand hours between 5 and 9 p.m. It has called for such reductions on 7 straight days. The heat is historic for both duration and intensity, evidenced by long-standing monthly and all-time records that continue to be toppled. In Sacramento, the downtown district got to 113 degrees, just a degree below the all-time record set in July 17th of 1975 and 4 degrees hotter than the previous record. Records there date back to 1877. On Tuesday, Sacramento is expected to jump to 115 degrees, which would both be a monthly and all-time record, as well as only the 11th time in the past 145 years the city made it to 112 degrees or higher. Fairfield, California, on the northeast side of the Bay Area, set an all-time record of 117 degrees. Yeah, I think, this is unbelievable. A whopping 42 million Americans are under excessive heat warnings, including most of California, northeast Arizona, adjacent southern Nevada, the Great Basin, southern Idaho, and western Utah are all under heat advisories. Welcome. If things continue and if business as usual continues, this will just simply be the new norm. We're seeing these type of back-to-back records, unprecedented heat events, constantly back-to-back, records being broken, historic levels being reached constantly. And this is 2022. This is now. What do you think is going to happen as if we decide to do business as usual? What do you think is going to happen in the next 8 years? What about the next 20 years? I'm just saying. The climate crisis is something that needs to be taken seriously. And we cannot continue to do business as usual. It's just not sustainable in any sense of the word. Just for this incident alone, 42 million people are under heat advisory right now. There are numerous wildfires burning at this time that have consumed thousands and thousands of acres, which add more to the problem. Just to circle back a little bit, this is why, like, when you hear people like Marjorie Taylor Greene make comments like, yeah, well, California is just going through some, like, rolling blackouts or whatever, rolling brownouts. Yeah, no shit. Why do you think that's happening? Yeah, clean coal is good. Fossil fuels are good. Ludicrous. This one was sent by one of you folks. I forget, and I apologize. But somebody sent me this one, so we'll just go through this one very quickly. Trump lawyers contradict claim that secret papers were declassified before correcting herself in the latest gaffe. Sure, we'll call it a gaffe. I don't have clearance to go through or touch or go through classified documents. You actually have to have clearance for that. So, wait. Oh, man. Yeah, not right now. An attorney for Donald Trump appeared to contradict the former president's claim that documents were taken from the Mar-a-Lago residence were, quote, declassified, saying that she didn't have clearance to handle the classified documents before quickly correcting herself. Alina Habba, in an interview with Sean Spicer on Newsmax, said that she's not working directly on the former president's legal case regarding the seizure of documents in Mar-a-Lago. A response came when she was asked about a Politico report that cited a court filing in which Ms. Alba said that on May 5th, just days before the Justice Department issued a subpoena to recover highly sensitive documents housed at Mar-a-Lago, she had gone to the state searching for records in response to a separate legal matter. Ms. Alba said she's working on a separate ongoing case with the New York Attorney General. Attorney Alina Habba briefly undercuts Trump's legal defense that he declassified all those documents, saying, I don't have clearance to touch them. So, yeah, so he didn't. Yeah, okay. Nice. Nice meme. But again, none of this is relevant to the statutes that are currently being investigated. Even if they were declassified, that's not a non-issue. That's not at the heart of what they're trying to investigate.
They're trying to, obviously now knowing what you just said, conflate this idea that you were looking for potentially handling classified documents. So if you weren't looking for them and that's not what you're handling, then that seems that would be a moot issue as well.
Yes, it's a very moot issue. Sorry, guys. We're going to have to move on to the next story. I don't have clearance to touch or go through classified documents. You actually have to have clearance to do that if they're classified. These were declassified, is my understanding. But again, I'm not the attorney that was handling this. Haven't been. I don't plan on being. There are a team of attorneys that were in Florida today that are dealing with this and have been on this.
Oh man, you can't make this stuff up, folks.
This matter since their first reach out with NARA, and then some additional attorneys have been joined that team. But no, my search was for the Attorney General in New York and had nothing to do with classified documents and
that were unclassified. Remember, I don't have clearance to touch these things. Also, they were declassified. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Cool.
NARA at all.
They're trying to
makes sense. Good memes. Good freaking memes. In the court filing, Ms. Abbott had said that she conducted significant and diligent comprehensive search of every room of Mr. Trump's home, including desk drawers, dressers, closets. When asked about what she thought about the cases being conflated, she said, sorry guys, we're gonna have to move on to the next issue. Oh yeah, okay, so we saw that. That's a good meme. Nice. Nice. All right, we have one more.
Why is this year's Atlantic hurricane season been so quiet? And how does India plan to decarbonize? Welcome to the Climate Recap from the Beckosphere Climate Corner, your go-to place for international and US-based climate news. I'm Becky Hogue, a climate communicator. Today is Tuesday, September 26th. Let's jump right into today's news. I want to give a heads up before we start that this will be my last episode for the week. I am going on a family trip today until the 16th, and I want to mostly disconnect for a time while I'm gone to give myself a break. I say mostly because I am incapable of fully disconnecting. In that vein, I will link a second Notion link in the description box below that I plan to continue updating with links as I briefly check the newsletters each day. No summaries or paragraphs, just links to the news stories I consider to be the most important. Also, remember that I include a list of all my favorite climate newsletters in the source list linked in the description. That being said, I will be back to making your regularly scheduled podcast episodes starting on September 19th, so be sure to check back then. But with that, let's dive into the news stories for today, starting with some extreme weather events. The Netherlands has long been worried and preparing for a climate-induced sea level rise to spell trouble for its country. But the recent drought, which is Europe's worst in 500 years, and the heat wave have posed an unexpected issue. As many
Jesus. Now, yeah, like, just to be clear, this isn't just like a U.S. problem, right? The California unprecedented heat waves and all this, yeah, it's kind of happening in several areas. I think India, China, Europe is also experiencing unprecedented heat waves. I mean, it's bad.
As 1 million Dutch homes built on piles of wooden poles risk seeing their foundations rot from fungi due to them being exposed as groundwater levels recede. This is mostly an issue for homes built before the 1970s. This problem might cost $100 million or £86.5 million to fix, according to a small group of engineers looking into the matter. This could also be a problem in parts of Sweden, Germany, and Italy's Venice. Okay, remember a few months ago I said this hurricane season was expected to be really bad this year? What happened to that? This has been the quietest Atlantic hurricane season in 25 years, with there being a 60-day interval between Tropical Storm Colin on July 3rd and Hurricane Danielle on September 1st. I haven't mentioned Danielle because she never made landfall anywhere. Now Tropical Storm Earl has followed her lead and will likely also become a hurricane but not make landfall. This season was predicted to be the 7th above average active hurricane season in a row based on us being in the second year of a La Nina event and a sighting of a blob of warm water in the Gulf that usually instigates an active season. We were expecting over the average 14 named storms, but we've only had 5 so far. Scientists are honestly a bit puzzled, but say dry air and wind shear are to blame. These conditions have shown up in the Bermuda High, a high-pressure system that sits over the Atlantic Ocean, being smaller and more north than anticipated. This system is what's caused high temperatures in Europe and Canada. Only 3 quiet seasons like this have occurred since records began being kept in 1944, so there are not many examples to point to determine how the season will end. When this kind of thing happened in 1961, the season pivoted around late August to become a very active season. But the second time, which happened in 1997, stayed quiet. So experts say we shouldn't let our guard down yet because we don't quite know what to expect. With Danielle and Earl appearing so close to each other, conditions might be picking up for a late active season even still. In the U.S. on Sunday, Georgia experienced a 1-in-1,000-year rainfall event, which caused rivers and lakes to swell and spur flash floods.
Yeah, this was, I want to say northwest of us. Yeah, according to what I was reading, it was rough. It was rough. It was raining here pretty consistently, but nothing like what was happening up north. No way. Nothing like what was happening up there.
More than 80 million people in the eastern U.S. were under a flood advisory warning yesterday. Meanwhile, Salt Lake City, Utah hit a new September record of 103 degrees Fahrenheit or 39.4 degrees Celsius as the heat wave in the western and southern U.S. continues. The city of Long Beach in Southern California recently beat its daily high when it reached 108 degrees Fahrenheit or 42.2 degrees Celsius. Further north, 2 people have died as 2 fires continue to rage in the Siskiyou County near the California-Oregon border. About 2,300 people have been ordered to evacuate since these fires began Friday. The fires are being stoked by winds, a horrible drought, and likely California's worst heat wave of the year. Temperatures in the area could reach 103 degrees Fahrenheit in the coming days. This is the second time this summer that the Siskiyou County has had to put out fires. Last month, the McKinley Fire killed 4 people and destroyed 185 structures, becoming the largest fire in the state this year. One rural town in the county, Weed, only has 2,600 residents and has seen 3 major wildfires in the past 8 years. The Mills Fire, which has burned about 7 square acres and 50 structures so far, is about 25% contained, while the Mountain Fire, which has burned 10 square acres so far, is only 5% contained. Let's look at a few climate victories. France's President Macron and Germany's Chancellor Scholz are working to get the EU to implement a windfall tax on energy, aka fossil fuel, companies that are producing record profits while the continent's citizens are struggling to keep the lights on. The windfall tax money could be put back in citizens' pockets or help artificially lower the price of energy. So far, only the UK has implemented this form of tax. That was towards the beginning of the energy crisis. Granted, they also incentivized fossil fuel companies to explore and produce more products with low lease sales costs that proved to provide more value to the companies than the value lost by the taxes. So there were issues for sure. And now the UK's windfall tax will probably be overturned by their new Prime Minister Truss. Yes, Liz Truss, who I've talked about for a few days now, has officially been selected as the next Prime Minister. As a reminder, she wants to bring back fracking despite there being little UK support and her own party halting this form of fossil fuel extraction in 2019. She wants to remove levies from energy bills that support clean power and home installations. She wants to increase drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea, and as I said, remove windfall taxes for fossil fuel companies. And she has beef with solar farms, saying they take up valuable farmland despite only being likely to take up 0.3% of UK land by the highest estimates.
Yeah, conservatism, folks. Not even once.
Which is half of the amount of land currently taken up by golf courses. Solar installations currently only take up 0.1% of UK land. But she likes offshore wind farms, so I guess that's something. Sorry to sneak that little climate fail in the middle of a climate victory. So back to the EU's potential windfall tax. EU ministers will likely meet on Friday to discuss the possibility. President Macron says if the EU doesn't take up this as a whole, he will consider it on a national level. Germany just announced it will officially delay the phase out of 2 nuclear plants until later in 2023 to cope during the winter. They will remain fully staffed and on standby for use, but not on until needed. And back in the UK now, around 50 Extinction Rebellion activists held peaceful yet disruptive protests in and around Parliament Friday, gluing and chaining themselves to places like the Speaker's chair in the House of Commons chamber and the building's outside gate. Those in the Palace of Westminster signed up to tour the site before going rogue. They held up signs and read out a speech demanding for a citizens' assembly to act on climate matters. 6 protesters were arrested on, quote, suspicion of offenses under Section 128 of the Serious Organized Crime and Police Act of 2005. Time for another climate fail. China imported a record $1.8 billion or 274,000 tons of beef in July, according to Global Agri-Trends. That's up by $500 million since March, which is a huge spike. Most of this demand is met by Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. This is a worrying trend because beef is the most emissions-heavy form of meat due to cattle burping and farting methane, manure methane emissions, and associated land use changes. Beef represents about a quarter of global land use changes, mostly which comes in the form of deforestation. Brazil is a huge source of that, with its beef industry being a huge contributor to Amazon rainforest deforestation. As I often say, the Amazon is an essential biodiversity hub, regional climate controller, and carbon sink. What's interesting is China's beef trend appears around the same time the demand for pork significantly drops. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's finish today's episode with some green hydrogen news. People familiar with the matter recently told Bloomberg that India wants to produce 25 million tons of green hydrogen by 2047 in an effort to reduce emissions. Green hydrogen is made via clean energy and can be an important tool to reduce emissions in hard-to-decarbonize sectors like cement, steel, and fertilizers. India's current output of green hydrogen is very low at the moment, so this would be a huge shift. It's unclear how cost-effective and energy-efficient banking on this form of clean energy will be, though, as it takes up a lot of energy to run the electrolyzers that break up water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. India, the third largest emitter in the world, has the goal of being net zero by 2070. The government is considering using production-linked incentives to encourage the sector to grow. And that was your climate recap for Tuesday, September 6th. If you like the work I do, please follow this podcast, give it a 5-star rating, leave a review, and consider checking out the Beckosphere Climate Corner YouTube channel. Remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations.
Sweet.
I'll see you on September 19th. Bye for now.
September 19th? Jesus. Folks, do me a favor. If you can, please take a second to go subscribe to this podcast. Greatly, how's it going? In case you haven't heard, the first lawmaker has been permanently barred from office for life under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment for their involvement in the January 6th insurrection. Yes, the county commissioner, Griffin, was removed from office and barred forever serving again by a New Mexico court. Yep, we went over it. Yes, I mean, it happens. Consequences, my friends, consequences. Unfortunately, I don't know how many of these folks will actually receive consequences. I was going over I was going over the article, and part of the language said that it incentivizing insurrectionary behavior might qualify too. I mean, several Republican lawmakers, a lot of Republican lawmakers, continue to spread incendiary rhetoric. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good that this person was barred from office. They don't belong anywhere near public office. And I agree, it's a start. I'm thinking about suing Andy Harris and Dan Cox for the same. I mean, hey, if you have an ability to do so, go for it. But yeah, if only there was more. We'll see the level of accountability that ends up being. Book reveals that Donald Trump once tried to pay his lawyer with the deed to a literal horse to cover $2 million in debt, saying it would be even more valuable than the money. The lawyer refused, saying this isn't the 1800s. I'm in their districts. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a thing, Alio. I would not be surprised. All right, folks. Harris is our rep and Cox is running for governor. Sheesh. All right, folks, we did it. We made it. We got through all of the articles that we were supposed to do. I appreciate you guys, and on time too, 8 p.m. Sheesh, right on time. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please, if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be for the news and politics. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on the YouTubes if you can. If you have 5 seconds, exclamation mark YouTube or YT, hit the subscribe button. Join the Discord if you want to keep up with the channel, or send me articles. It's all good. Make sure you join there. And I appreciate all your support. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for all the biddies and subs and all that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Okay, you guys are what makes it go. Spread the word far and wide, folks. Also, before we go, I want to go with a secondary round of celebration because, you know what, it does deserve celebrating. As most of you folks have already probably known at this point, Kiwi Farms is essentially done. And that was mainly due to the enormous pressure campaign that the streamer Keffels, who has been a victim of Kiwi Farms' consistent harassment, doxing, and death threats. She has been a victim for I think weeks now. At this point, I had to look into it. She made a video. She posted all the swatting incident and all of that. Multiple, I think, swatting incidents, if I'm correct. I have to go back. So I think one swatting incident and then multiple attempts to do more swatting. She is a trans creator who has done quite the amount of work for the trans community, and almost single-handedly, essentially, led a campaign to take down Kiwi Farms, and she succeeded. Kiwi Farms, for all intents and purposes, is offline and probably will never be able to operate at the same capacity, which is great. So to send that off, one more round of celebration, right? One more round of celebration. Yeah, get effed, Kiwi Farms. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Alright, folks. Yeah, hip hip hooray. True. Alright, folks. That was a good meme. Anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you guys so much. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya!